In order to create a Google form, you can go into your Drive, click on New. If you go to More, it will be there in purple. So you can click on Forms, and it will create a new one for you right there. Another way to get in is to go to your Apps button where the squares are, and if you click on that and click on More, then you'll see Forms that way as well. When you go in there, it will look like this. So that way it will house all the different forms that you've ever created in one place. Sometimes this is a nice organization if you're not looking for a variety of other kinds of documents, only if you want a form. So you can go up to the top and make a blank one. You'll also notice that there are a variety of other choices, like to make it look like a worksheet, and that would mostly be, you can have someone put their name and answer questions. You can have them have it graded, meaning you want a specific answer, and then you can have it graded already there. Or it could be in the form of a blank as well. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be teaching, but you can think about what kind of questions do I want to ask somebody. So when you create a new form, if you click at the top, and you can create the name. So you can say meeting, maybe you take your meeting log, meeting minutes through this way as well, and it will automatically change the title here. But once you change it, if now I change it to say meeting log, it won't update on the top. So it's kind of your first chance it will update both, but after that, if you do want to change it, you do have to fix both areas. Next, you can change the background. So the default is this purple color, but if you go up to the top where it looks like a paint palette, there's a color palette, there's a variety of colors there that you can choose if you like a different color. Also, if you click in the corner, you can add different images. Google provides a variety of different already preset backgrounds that you can put in there, which is nice. You can use one of their preset ones. You can also upload a photo from your desktop. So for example, if you go into Google Images, you find a photo that you like and you save it to your desktop, you can put it there. Or you can go to your own albums and find a photo if you have any photo albums in your Drive, and you can add those in there as well. The thing you do have to know is that whenever you are using a photo, it's going to take a very narrow piece of that photo. So you just have to be aware, okay, where do I want the photo? Is it okay if just this little piece is taken, since it's in a triangular form? So sometimes I do find myself needing to experiment with the different types of backgrounds. I usually try to find maybe smaller images with lots of more blank background. That way I can focus in on a specific image. But whatever you choose, you can put in there. Then the next piece is there is the setting. So a nice thing about setting up a form is that you can have it automatically collect email addresses. The response receipt means that it will automatically send the answers back to the recipient. And that would be a great thing, is if you have this person fill out a form, if they want, for example, if they want a specific t-shirt size, or if they want to purchase something, it's a receipt for that. That way there is record and documentation of that. You do not have to have that, though, if you're collecting email addresses. A nice thing about that is if you have a question where somebody puts in their email address and they do it wrong or incorrect, you do have a backup there. Since this is in the ASFG domain, you can restrict it to only people within the domain, so only teachers at the school or only administrators. You can mostly, if you're going to do it within the community, you would want to uncheck that. And if this is something where you really want data, you don't want people to go back in and fill it again, like if you were having a specific type of survey, you wouldn't want your data to be skewed, so maybe you only say they get one response per person. The only way that you can truly know if it's one response, if you are collecting the email addresses, then Google will not allow that email address to fill it out again. And a nice thing is edit after submission. So if someone fills it out and then they say, oh wait, I changed my mind, and they still have the browser open, you can have that so they allow them to go back. Summary responses just sees, can I see when I finish, what did other people say? So maybe you're trying to teach someone a specific fact about the school, about something environmental, then you could have them do that. Most typically people don't. Under the presentation, you can have progress bar. These are kind of just some fun things that people like. If you have them do multiple questions, it's nice to have a progress bar. Then they know how much longer they're going to be invested within the survey. If you have people taking it next to each other, you don't want them to mix answers, or you want to try to make sure that you have more accurate data. You can shuffle the question order that a person receives it in. And you can allow a person to add another response. So maybe if you're doing something with parents and you are having them focus in on one specific child, you could have them submit another response, and that way they could submit it as another child. Or somebody who wears multiple hats, like first they want to make a submission as a parent, then they want to make a submission as a teacher, or so on and so forth. And the nice thing about at the end, you're able to allow somebody to say, thank you for participating. You can do a confirmation message. And it's a nice way to share information as well. If you're doing a survey and you want someone to go to a specific website, if you add in the website address right there, it will automatically create a hyperlink for someone to go to. Even though it doesn't look like a hyperlink here, if you have it there, when they finish the form, they'll be able to click on that and continue. So if you have further information you want someone to visit, you could have it there as well. So make sure you click Save at the end if you want that. And a quiz. A nice thing about quizzes is if you're testing somebody's knowledge, and there is only one correct answer, you can have Google automatically calculate it for you. So it can do it right away, and you can allow someone to see what the correct answers were and point values or missed questions if you want as well. A nice thing about that is if somebody is taking the time to take a survey, they can then see, okay, what was the correct answer? And you can click Save. Now, what do all of these other things mean? If you go to the side, there are a variety of different options. You can add a question. So it gives you one default question. In order to add another question, you click on the plus. It might give you, depending on the types of questions that you already have, it could kind of think for you, and it might choose. So there's short answer, where you might only want like a few words, paragraph, multiple choice, checkboxes, drop down. So there are a variety of different options that you could have in there as well, including date and time. You can have someone specifically choose a date and a time of day as well. You can also add images. Images are a great thing to add. For example, here is some images that I have added into forms, so there are a variety of different options there. Another option is adding a video. You can add a YouTube video right in there, then you don't have to send your participants outside of a question. They can be right inside there. Also, you can add a new section. By adding a new section, that means that I'm going to fill this out first, and then I will press next on the form, and then I'll see a different page come up. So this could be, the first page could be for different information, basic information about the survey participant, but on the next question it might have something else, a new topic that they're focusing on. In order to see what the questions look like, I can go to the top and click on the eye, and the eye is what it actually looks like from the view of the person taking it. So if they actually have a video, you see how the question looks, and you can go on from there. Now notice some questions have an asterisk and another might not. In order to have an asterisk, you need to make sure that the question is required. So you will not allow the participant to go on to the next question without them finishing this question right here. Another handy tool is the 3 dots in the corner here. If you click on it and you click go to section based on answer, if you say, what are you a, and you could say maybe a teacher, you might have specific questions that you want a teacher to answer. So this would be for a teacher. So I noticed the teacher section is section 3, so that if somebody were to answer this question, I could have them go to section 3. Maybe this would be a parent, and I would have them go to a different section if they were a parent. So I can then make this person go to the same section that I've required. So you can have different sections for different types of people or different questions based on how you want them to answer. Another helpful tool is if you make a question and you make, for example, a short or a paragraph question, one thing you can do is add a response validation. So, for example, maybe you want somebody to write no more than 500 words. So they make the length and they give you, you can make a maximum character count of 500 words. Okay? You can even make a minimum of 500 words, 500 characters, for example, and you can add that one there. There's a variety of things you can do. Maybe you can add a number. You want them to insert a number, and it has to be between a certain range of numbers. Or let's say you want their answer to make sure that they use the word candy, or make it an email address. So if you're that way, people can't just put anything in there. If you're adding a text, make sure that it contains a URL. So copy and paste a URL and put it in here. Or make sure you put an email address so that they know it's a valid email address. You can also, you can add an expression. There are many there. You could also add limits to paragraphs and check boxes as well. They must select at least as many, or at most, or exactly the amount of check boxes, and that just means what type of answer. So here's an example of a form. You can have people put in who's in attendance for one day. You can put the date that you're having a meeting on. Who you can select, have a drop-down menu and select what jobs are whose. What did you discuss that day? Volunteer. Now this one is one of my favorite types of questions, because if you go to add on, you can add on. There are many different add-ons you can go to, but I've inserted an add-on, and I've shown how to do this in a link in the description. But by adding a choice eliminator, I can configure it, and what that means, you have to make sure that you give permission, and when you give permission, so I'm going to choose the volunteer question, okay? Now, I'm going to choose I'm going to put in there as many times, for example, or how many that might be available. You could use this for like a size of a shirt. How many sizes do you have available of one shirt? And so the first come, first serve. So when somebody goes into this, only one person, or maybe 2 people, can choose the 8 o'clock time to volunteer, okay? And then we can add that in there. So now, depending on how many people you allow, or how many people can choose that option, it will automatically eliminate that one if somebody else chooses it. So that when I'm looking and I can choose a time, and that's what I can choose, and then it will no longer